Nathan, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year, dude. We've had a hell of a year, but today we are not talking about what was, we are talking about what will be.
That's right, baby. We're going to be talking about our predictions for 2015.
So coming up next on the Fast Lane Car, what you can expect to see in the brand new year. Nathan, we've got our top 5 predictions for 2015, and the number 5 is the return of the Europeans. What do we mean by that?
Folks, for those of you who are over 30 years old, you'll remember that Peugeot was here and Fiat was here, and then a lot of these car companies left, but now a lot of them are coming back. Fiat is back. Alfa Romeo is coming back. And technically speaking, Renault, who's connected with Nissan, is coming back. A lot of the vehicles they're sharing are making their way to the United States. So what we're predicting is a growth in the amount of vehicles that are coming to the United States, and partially due to the fact that there are rumors that the chicken tax may go away. And that chicken tax, for those of you who don't know, to make it very simple, is when vehicles were imported here, it was very expensive for people to bring them over here, and now it will be cheaper for them to bring them over here, possibly.
Especially trucks.
Especially trucks.
Trucks and vans, that's what was affected by that.
Yes.
And God help us all, because I'm old enough, I fear, to remember some of those old European cars. Do you remember the Le Car?
Yeah, I drove one. I drove just it had three bolts for the wheels. I always thought that was interesting. I was a little concerned about that. But what's really important here is that the European cars, the quality is so much better than it used to be. And we're talking about really efficient, small displacement, turbocharged engines. We're talking about excellent, excellent diesels. There's so much potential out there. And as a car lover, that's just potential for fun.
Yeah, and especially when you have a European brand like Fiat buying an American brand like Chrysler and changing the name around, it's pretty obvious that we're going to have a lot more European influence. And I think, you know, the more the merrier. I remember I was in Germany once, and I was at the Munich airport, and I was bored, and I went to buy a book about cars.
Yeah.
And so they had put together this compilation of cars that you can buy in Germany. Guess how thick that book was, Nathan? Yeah, it was like that thick. That's how many cars you could get in Germany. And in America, we have the best market in the world, so we get all the good stuff, but the least choice in a lot of ways.
Dude, it's so unfair. Europeans got all the good stuff and always the higher end stuff, or at least the faster stuff.
They pay more for it.
They do pay more, a lot more for it.
And they pay a lot more for gas, but they get all those crazy, let's face it, Korean brands that we don't get.
Yep, that's true. That's true. And actually some Chinese brands, which we won't have anytime soon. But the point is that the Europeans are coming back, and I think it's a good thing. And, well, you know, let us know below what you think.
Number 4.
Yes.
More recalls. A lot more recalls.
Absolutely. Now, for those of you out there who are unaware of what a recall is, it's very simple. If an automaker detects or sees something in their product that is bad or dangerous, they will recall their vehicle, bring it back, fix it, and give it back to you, or they will be required by a government body to do that. Now, there's something very important about this. I think it's a very good thing, and I'll tell you why. Before, certain car companies would absolutely refuse to recall things and just basically wait until many people died or horrible things happened. Now, with the internet and with the advent of media being what it is today, they have to do recalls quickly, or else they're going to get absolutely screwed when it comes to what you guys buy.
Yeah, I think people learned the lesson from GM with the ignition recall.
Or Toyota.
Or, yeah, that was another unfortunate one. And the cost of not recalling the car in terms of real money and public perception is so immense now that I suspect we're going to get recalls before cars are even...
before they're off the lot. You know, a lot of you guys make fun of General Motors because there have been so many recalls, and indeed it is a little crazy, but at least they're doing it now, and they're making sure that their cars are safe, and they're doing it for you guys because they want your business, they want your sales, and they want to keep you guys safe because they don't want to lose $1 billion in a lawsuit. And they're not the only car companies that are doing it. There are a lot of car companies out there that have been kind of doing it right under the table. In fact, nearly every single car company has had a recall in the past 18 months.
Yeah, a couple hundred here, 100,000 here, a couple 100,000 there.
Yes, quite a few.
But it's good because it means that our cars are becoming much more reliable and much safe. All right, Nathan, number 3, what are your predictions for electric vehicles for 2015?
Now, this is for North America, guys. This is specifically for the United States, because our gas prices have fallen into a pit, an abyss, in a good way, for those of you who actually care about having cheap gas. And because of that, I think that EV sales, for the most part, not the high-end Tesla stuff, I'm talking about regular EV sales, are going to go flat for 2015. And that's because cheap gas and the awareness right now and environmental stuff based on what these other cars are doing with really clean diesels and very clean gas engines now, I think that people aren't going to want them as much as they did last year.
Well, and the problem is, first of all, if I had a big tank and gas didn't go bad, I would fill it up in the back of my yard right now.
Yeah, seriously.
But here's the problem. Let me ask you a question, Nathan.
Yeah.
How many electric vehicles are sold in America?
Oh, I would say 100,000.
No, not the number, just how many brands?
Oh, how many brands?
Yeah.
4.
11.
11.
Yeah, there are 11 manufacturers.
I meant to say 11.
And how many of those do you think are sold across the entire country?
The entire country?
Yeah.
3.
Exactly, 3. Yeah, the Nissan Leaf.
Yes.
BMW i3.
Yes.
And I forgot the third one. There's one more.
Well, Tesla, technically.
The Tesla, yeah. The Tesla, yeah, those are the only 3. And the problem really comes down to the fact that manufacturers have not jumped in with both feet into the deep end, right? They're selling these compliance cars which are only sold in California or some of the outlying states.
Yeah.
And if the manufacturers don't commit to it, if they only sell a handful of cars, I'm talking about a handful. I was talking to the guy at Nissan who's in charge of the Leaf, and I said, this was a few months ago, I said, how many Leafs have you sold altogether? And he said, 70,000. And I said, that's a lot for America. He goes, no, worldwide. 70,000 Leafs this year. And that's a drop in the bucket when it comes to the entire car market. So until the manufacturers decide to go all in on electric vehicles, it's still just going to be a marginal part of the entire picture of cars sold in the world. All right, number 2, Nathan. More turbos, more power.
And smaller displacement.
Exactly.
Now, this is what we've been seeing, and it really did start, if you look at the past, say, 10 years, Ford was one of the first car companies
with the EcoBoost.
With the EcoBoost to really devote the effort into, hey, we're going to take an engine, we're going to shrink it down, put turbochargers on it or a turbocharger on it, and we're going to produce as much power as a larger displacement engine, but get better gas mileage like a smaller displacement engine. And now almost every automaker is going turbo and going smaller.
And there's a problem with that. It does give you better fuel economy unless you're into the turbo. In which case, turbos are thirsty.
Turbos can be very thirsty. However, with the advent of direct injection and the fact that cars are much more computer savvy in terms of what's going into the system and how they figure out how much fuel they should dole out to each system, it seems like they're a little bit more efficient, and it's going to only increase from there. So hopefully, with better transmissions and everything else, we will be seeing more and more turbos. And being that we live in Colorado over a mile above sea level, turbos are awesome.
Yeah, but we've seen this trend before. In the 70s and 80s, after the fuel crisis, manufacturers started putting in turbos. The problem was twofold. One, they weren't reliable, so they would basically burn out.
Yeah.
And number 2, at some point, the pendulum swings one way in America, and it swings far, and then it swings the other way. And so what ends up happening is you've got all these small displacement turbos, and some manufacturer comes along and says, hey, don't you miss the big V8. Don't you miss that sound.
Lexus did that just now.
Yeah, with the RCF. Yeah, exactly. And then the pendulum swings back to the big displacement engines again. All right, the number 1 trend, Nathan, is
crossovers, baby.
All crossovers all the time. That was all we'll be driving, just crossovers.
When we were talking about this top 5 list, we looked at each other and said, oh my God, yeah, crossovers, because now you have small crossovers, little tiny ones like the Mazda CX-3 and some of those other ones that are really, really tiny, and then you have giant crossovers like the Chevrolet Trailblazer.
I don't know what you're going to.
Traverse.
Okay, Chevy Traverse.
So the names are all kind of jumbled together.
Pretty much every car segment is going to have a crossover.
Already does. There are sports crossovers.
X4, right?
Yeah, the X4M.
Yeah. X6. I mean, everything now is basically a crossover. I'm just waiting for the the crossover minivan.
Well, we kind of sort of had the Aztec. It was an early harbinger, but the point is,
God help us.
The point is that crossovers have really just jumped into the entire lexicon of North American buyers, and they love it. And not only North America, China. buying the hell out of crossovers. They love them too.
Yeah, because let's face it, they're usually all-wheel drive, or they have an all-wheel drive option, so that means that they're much better in cold climates like here in Colorado. They tend to be taller, so they tend to see over other cars, and they tend to have the utility that people want.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're cool.
And more room, and they're cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of them are really car-like, and some of them are really truck-like. And it's funny, I mean, think about it. They're simulating the feel of a car or a truck with these kind of half-breed weirdos, which is an interesting thing, and at the same time, it's something that is absolutely taking over the market. Go ahead and check. Look at every single automaker that has sold in the United States, and you will see that they all have a crossover. Even Tesla's working on a crossover.
Yeah, forever. They've been doing it for like the last 200 years. Yeah. All right. And being TFL, we always like to give you a bonus.
That's right, baby.
And so the bonus is this, Nathan.
Pony cars.
That's right. Pony cars are red hot. And we're talking about Camaro, Mustang, and Challenger. And, you know, with the Hellcat coming out, they just blew everybody's mind with 707 horsepower, and in the Charger at least, a 200+ mile/hour top speed. And now we've got the new Mustang, which did the turbo thing, right?
Yep.
Went small and put turbos into the thing, and now we've got the Camaro coming next. So it's a great time if you're a muscle pony car kind of guy or gal.
I mean, think about it. Vehicles that are putting out 500, 600, 700 horsepower that are able to get on the highway over 20 miles per gallon.
It's crazy.
If you told somebody from 30 years ago, oh yeah, cars will be doing that, they would have thought you were nuts. And look where we are now. It's a wonderful time to be a car freak.
Exactly. So we are living in the glory time of the internal combustion engine, especially when it comes to big ruddy V8s, and I am just happy to be a part of this.
Me too. Guys, you're going to see so much footage of this stuff because we're going to do everything we can to get our hands on every pony car we can.
Like flies on you-know-what.
Yep, that's right. That's us.
Well, Happy New Year, guys. Thank you very much for all of our patrons for subscribing to TFL, and of course for watching. We're growing, and we're there because of you.
Thank you, guys.
So thank you, guys. Happy New Year. And once again, a new video every day. Man, we are crazy. How do we do that, Nathan?
We do it because we're just crazy.
No, we do it because we love cars.
That's what we do.
Ciao.
See ya.